The NFL draft is just a matter of days away. We're finally there. It's like the last sleep before Christmas. We've scouted all the players. We've been breaking down the stars, the sleepers, and everything in between. And it means now that we have got one last opportunity to drop a 7-round Eagles mock draft. No trades, nothing overcomplicated. Just the 7 players that I feel will be on this team by this time next week. My name is Liam Jenkins. This is my last attempt at trying to work out which of these players will be suiting up in Midnight Green in 2019. But if you're new around here, guys, before we get started, you're an Eagles fan, make sure you like this video, hit subscribe to join one of the fastest growing Philadelphia sports communities on YouTube. We want to build the biggest one possible. We need your help to do it. And don't forget, you can check out content from myself and all of our writers over at phillysportsnetwork.com every single day of the week. At pick 25, it's a safety who the Eagles have besotted with most out of the entire class, according to a couple of people. Some even view him as a top safety in the draft, and it's not really hard to see why. He's as versatile as they come. He can play single high, down in the slot, and in the box as well. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson out of Florida is my pick at 25 if he's still on the board. He's strong against the run, a very willing tackler, and it's so hard to find that combined with the ball skills that this man has. He had 4 interceptions and 9 tackles for a loss during his final season with the Gators. And if we look at the Eagles safety picture, they've used a third safety on 60% of snaps at a minimum over the course of the last 2 years, and with Andrew Sendejo likely replacing a retiring Corey Graham, they need someone developmental to step up and hold down the fort with Rodney McLeod while Malcolm Jenkins wreaks havoc underneath. Gardner-Johnson would have the chance to be a very important role player early on, while of course contributing on Dave Phipp's special teams unit as well, but there's no taking away from the fact he could be in the mix at slot cornerback depending on what the team wish to do with Avonte Maddox and Sidney Jones. In fact, the Eagles haven't drafted a true safety since way back in 2010 when they picked up Nate Allen with one of the Donovan McNabb picks. So with Malcolm Jenkins getting no younger, Rodney McLeod having to give up most of his salary in 2019 in order to stay on the roster, the Eagles need someone they can hang their hat on for the next few years, and I think that man is going to be Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. He may take a year or two developing in the wings, but this will be the man to get it done. The first of 2 second-round picks. It's no stranger to these mock drafts by now. I think it's the 3rd time I've mocked Darrell Henderson to the Eagles, but there is just no more dynamic fit in this draft than Henderson, especially with Jordan Howard now in the backfield. You just don't average 8.9 yards per carry at any level without that going unnoticed. Henderson revs up fast, he gets to the corner with ease and can find cutback lanes for fun. It's not hard to be blown away by just how rapid Henderson truly is, and although he's not the most electric receiver, he will rip through any lane that his blockers leave open for him. The only issues that I can see is that it would be a little bit stiff in the hips at times, and there are going to be questions about his size, especially considering the power and the frame of the linebackers he'll meet at the next level. But if you want a dream running back pick for the Eagles, this is the one. Jordan Howard's going to secure the bag after 2019 and likely move on to free agency, and Henderson gives the Eagles the best combination of cost in a second-round pick, production in 2019 where he can be an immediate impact playmaker in that rotation, and then of course what follows where he could well become the workhorse back in 2020. He has got all of the genetic makeup needed to absolutely decimate behind an offensive line as athletically gifted as that commanded by Jeff Stoutland. Darrell Henderson, for me, it's a no-brainer if he's still on the board at 53. He's dynamic, he's an open field nightmare, and he would thrive in Doug Peterson's offense. We're going to shake things up now. Listen, I know the Eagles are absolutely in love with Alabama State's Titus Howard, but the problem is that he's soaring up so quickly in terms of draft potential that he could even be a 1st-round pick, and if the Eagles can't get him at 53, or there's a hunch they would have to trade up, it just makes sense to sit and wait what falls into your lap, and that man for me is going to be Yodny Kajist. He's battled injuries but stayed healthy in his junior year and will go on to share the Big 12 Offensive Line of the Year award in 2018 with none other than 1st-round projected prospect Dalton Risner. He's got an athletic frame, but make no mistake, he's much more of a stagnant blocker. Don't expect him to be moving like Lane Johnson anytime soon. With that in mind though, he is quite light on his feet all things considered, keeps a firm posture when sustaining blocks and punches relatively well, driving with his lower body and controlling his body weight throughout. However, he can be rigid in his play and sometimes struggle, leaking pressure to his inside. That right shoulder can almost be like a separate part of his body at times. but in my opinion, he's a little bit more NFL ready than Titus Howard. The Eagles want Howard because his long-term ceiling is that much more, but if you're going to have to reach for that with a first-round pick, just take what you already know in Yodny Cajuste. Cut your nose to spite your face. Take a man that's 6'5", 312 pounds, and will still develop into a potential franchise left tackle in years to come with the help of Jeff Stoutland. Our first 4th round pick here is being spent on younger brother of Calvin Ridley, that's Riley Ridley. And I promise you, I'm not making this up when I tell you his route running, don't get carried away, just the route running, reminds me of Odell Beckham. The man glides like he's on ice, it's unreal. I rarely see a receiver so smooth in his body movement. And there's a saying among wide receivers that every route should be a vertical until it's not. Every route should be a 9 route until you sell it. And there may be none better in this draft that representing that than Riley Ridley. At 6'2", 200 pounds, his numbers aren't amazing. He had 43 catches for 559 yards and 9 touchdowns last year. But he's just effortless in his body movement. He's not the fastest, he's not the most explosive, but he's reliable. You very rarely see him fumble the bag. He's hard to stop on those shorter and intermediate routes, and he just glides through the route tree and seals everything off in a heartbeat. The Eagles are going to need to replace Nelson Aguilar after next year unless they somehow keep him around, and I feel like Riley Ridley could be the perfect fit to dominate inside that slot because just like Aguilar, he's got that crisp route running. It's so rare to see the hand positioning, the tippiness of the toes, and just his overall stellar fluidity through the stem of the route. So Riley Ridley for me would be a great steal in the 4th if still on the board. On to our second 4th round pick, and it is linebacker David Long Jr. We've got to somehow get a West Virginia player in here, right? Whether it's Rasul Douglas, Wendell Smallwood, or even that undrafted center Tyler Orlowski, the Eagles seem to love poaching from West Virginia University. And Long may not be the biggest linebacker in his class, he may be undersized, but we're talking about a guy that has 108 tackles and 19.5 for a loss in 2018. That's a 5th of his tackles going for a loss. He can penetrate the backfield, he reads the game well. He's at his best when someone just takes the leash off and lets him fly around the field. Make no mistake, this isn't a zonal linebacker that's going to sit back, read the quarterback size, and then jump onto a tight end and bring him down. In fact, his flexibility isn't his best friend. He can be rigid in terms of his tackling angles, but it's that short area quickness. It's the sideline to sideline speed, something the Eagles sorely missed last year. And with Nigel Bradham wreaking havoc on one side, having someone that can penetrate on blitz looks and just as easily help take out someone like Saquon Barkley twice a year, I feel like David Long Jr. could be a fantastic developmental option for the Eagles in the heart of this draft. We're going to spend the lone 5th round selection on the defensive line, but this time bolstering the exterior pass rush. And there's only one man for the job, the rangy Jalen Jelks. He's 6'6", 245. He's not your average defensive end by any means, but neither are his numbers either. In 2017, he had 15.5 tackles for a loss and 7 sacks. He's versatile, flashed at the Senior Bowl, and uses all of that length to find leverage in matchups he just really shouldn't be winning. He may not have the power or some of the counter moves that some of the more nimble defensive ends in this class do, or the bend or the explosiveness, but this is someone that has a surprising amount of burst given his lankier size. He led the conference in defensive line tackles with 57 and reminds me a lot of Cassius Marsh. He's explosive, his poor combine doesn't do him justice, and he's got a strong sense of football awareness. He's going to be a great developmental option behind what's already a stellar front four. You've got Graham on one side with Derek Barnett behind him, and on the other, Vinnie Curry and Chris Long with Josh Sweat. Jelks will be someone that can step up to the plate when the veterans move on, and you have no qualms with what he can bring to the table, only knowing that it's been further developed during his time with the Eagles. And with their 6th round pick, the Eagles draft a quarterback, but unlike my last 2 mocks where I've been kind of sold on Eastern Stick out of North Dakota State, I feel like Brett Ripien may be the man they go for. The Eagles are on the record as wanting to go back to the days of drafting a quarterback every year, and while an inconsistent Alliance of American Football signal caller fills the void, I don't think Luis Perez is going to be the next Nate Sudfeld. Insert Brett Ripien, a man who threw 50 collegiate games, threw for over 13,000 yards, 90 touchdowns and 29 picks. He doesn't have the size at 6'2", 200 pounds that some of the others do in this class, nor does he have the mobility of Kyler Murray. His arm strength isn't as impressive as Drew Lock, and the level of competition faced is nowhere near as fierce. But make no mistake, Ripien throws dimes. He's aware of his shortcomings, navigates the pocket well, and if you want a quarterback to drop it in the bucket every single time, Rypien's your man. He completed 67% of his passes last season and stood out massively against Air Force. He's able to lead receivers into space with ball placement and can hold safeties with ease. Rypien will be a perfect game manager at the next level, which is a little convenient as that was what one Nick Foles was formerly labelled. But that is it, guys. The final NFL 7-round mock draft for the Eagles is in the books. What do you think? Who do you want the team to draft? Let me know down in the comments. Did you agree? Did you disagree? And don't forget to hit like and subscribe. We've got plenty more content between now and this weekend, including more content on round-by-round targets for the Eagles, podcasts, and so much more. So from myself, Liam Jenkins, you can follow me at Liam Jenkins21. I'll see you next time.